stream died. Well, yeah, it said welcome to the chat room now. Am I on now? Am I back? Am I back? We back. Okay. Silly streams again. Well, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, and we all know how plans can go for things like internet plans, but hopefully, at least before the end of the year, we're gonna have be able to have better internet out here. So we're gonna have fiber because they're digging out fiber to this area around here, and they're gonna go past this house. So the landlord, the owner of the house, has made sure that they will toss a little cable this way, so to speak. So, and they have plans, and they're like, we're gonna be there soon and doing stuff. But we all know how that works. But at some point, we're gonna have better internets. That's nice. Maybe the stream will be a little bit more stable by then. We'll see. Also, another thing about the streams. The stream schedule is going to change. It's going to be a bit more fluent over the summer because I also got a job. Well, actually, I got my job back basically, so I'm gonna go back to work at the mine over the summer. Tourism, not mining. Uh, and I'm gonna work as a tour guide, and mostly I'm gonna be working as a museum technician. I think we're gonna call it right. Museum technician. So I'm gonna be in charge of fixing technical stuff with the museum and the exhibitions and the things in the mine. But that means I'm not gonna have a regular schedule, so stream days. I'll get back to that. I'm gonna set up this week. I'm setting up so I can open up my Discord if people want to join that, because then I can just announce my schedules and everything there. It's gonna be not regular days, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Not like the same days every week. And now we're getting the live notifications from Stream Elements. Thank you, Stream Elements. Sometimes it feels like Stream Elements is the distant cousin of Internet Explorer. Did I add the Steam allowance now? No. Okay, so we're not doing an overlapping theme on this then. That's for sure. It was written, I was talking about it, but I didn't do it. But it's okay. This is such a thick leather, so I don't think it really matters if we do, because if it's very thin, you wanna basically sew them together like this and then bend them out. But this thickness might not actually be a good idea to even try to do that. So we're just gonna sew them like that. Oh, this is gonna be interesting though, because this needs to be bent down for the top. We might need to shave that down a bit. And we might need to shave that down a bit, yeah. We cannot, however, under any circum. Yeah, and this is gonna hold. I just wanted to make. I was thinking about just putting it like overlapping like that because it's just simpler to sew. But this is gonna be a nice cross stitch now instead, so it's okay. Yeah, you have headphones on, Pixel. That's not really gonna work. Oh, such nice damaged old leather. Okay, here we cannot. We cannot not do that because this inner edge needs to be bent up so it goes out on the outside of this to sew it together. In this case, failure is not an option. Failure at this point would mean cutting out another big piece of leather and waste this piece of leather basically for this. I mean, you can do other small stuff with it still, but no. I need me one of those sewing ruler thingies so you have the distant measuring thingy. If you can write that up on the note, if they have something like that on Dollar Store, that would be awesome, by the way. There is no waste, there's only the wasteland. Okay, but here we want a good centimeters or thereabouts. So we'll start with that while we are talking about it. So you put it on the list. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Done. And as I said, when you make a conical hat or a cone-shaped hat, this is actually going to be the top part that we're going to cut out. So we're going to cut out this very carefully. Cut out the middle. Because otherwise, if it's just like a top hat, you need a bigger bit. And you need to. So making this type of hat, this type of sort of, I mean, yeah, I guess it's a pilgrim style hat, but it's just like way out of proportion. Um, when you make this type of hat, it's actually practical for it uses, well, you don't have to use as many big pieces of leather. Yay! So, oh, Stream hasn't been working for you until now because it was back almost instantaneously, said somebody else in the chat. Silly streams. And then we want to mark out the front because, yeah, or the back, basically on the opposite side, where it's where we want the seam of the crown to be. Ah, yeah, your internet issue with combined with the Twitch issues, combined with a mobile internet to stream on. I guess that is a bit of a thing that can become problematic. So I don't know. Did you how much you heard? Did you did you hear about the stream schedule changes at all? No, but have you heard? You didn't hear me talking about them now, right? Because I did that while you were being looped around. No clue. Okay. Uh, I also got a job. I got my old job, basically. So I'm gonna go back into being a tour guide, among other things, in the mine. Well, technically, I am going to be a museum technician, so going to be dealing um, with the well technical stuff in the exhibitions and the museum and the mine and stuff, and tour guiding a little bit. So I'm working on this Saturday, so there's no stream, and the stream schedule is going to be a bit fluent. It's not going to be regular days anymore because, well, work. Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be nice to get back to a little bit of work, to be honest. It's gonna be nice. Uh, so yeah, this week I am planning on opening up a Discord, and then I'm gonna post schedules and stuff there. I don't know how much activity it's gonna be on the Discord otherwise, but might be a good place to if you want to have information, because it's not gonna be like a 9 to 5 every day. So different weeks, different days. So it's gonna change. Okay, this is way too small now, even for even for my head. And this is chunky as chunky chunks. So we're gonna need to bend this up, and we're gonna have to wet that down. And then we're gonna figure out how big this is a bit chunky maybe. Well, we're in it now. We have cut out the patterns for a hat. We're not going back. I think it's gonna look cool in the end. It's just gonna be more work than it needs to be to make a hat. But I also want a naturally tanned color because I want to be able to dye it myself to get the effects that I want. So I am off hunting for water. I'm looking for something that I can pour water into and dip the hat into. Do I have any good boxes for that? That's not a good box for that. Actually, this is a pretty good box for that. Sadly, I have all my brushes in this box, but that's gonna have to change. Well, most of my brushes anyway. That is spacious enough to squeeze down hat parts in. Now let's go and grab some water. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to wet down the whole thing more or less. It's gonna be pretty tricky otherwise to get water on that edge. It's a pretty, I mean, the splotchiness and everything, this is some kind of a fail fail thingy from the tanners, but so it was cheap, which is nice. Okay, so let's keep that edge in water for a good few minutes. So put it there. But yeah, it's otherwise it's really good and sturdy and everything. Vegetable tan leather. Okay, let's tape this together and put it on the head of Pixel to see if it actually works. And since we are weathering and stuff, we don't really, I mean, normally try to not put tape on the good side. We might have to wet this down a bit as well to transparent. Whee! Hill. I'm guessing there's supposed to be an O at the end there later, or you're just gonna go Hill. Hi, Snack Punch. How are you? The snackiest punch, or the punchiest snack? I don't know. Well, hell, just longer. Okay. Well, hell. And we're gonna see if we can't. I am good and well. Yeah, been sick for a couple of weeks. Well, was sick for like a week and a half or something. Super annoying. It wasn't COVID though. Tests came back negative. None of us is from home is COVIDed. COVIDed. I don't know. None of us got it. So yeah, first time streaming in like 3 weeks now. I mean, first I took a few weeks off to finish off the cosplay build, and then I streamed for a week, and then I got sick. And now we're back, and now the schedule for streaming is gonna change because I'm gonna be working at the mine over the summer in tourism. So we're gonna do irregular streams during the summer. Room room to the zone. Smell you later. Indeed, Leo. I guess she's gonna sniff me when I come home. I don't know how that works. Okay, so the point is that this is gonna go in the inside here, right? Here we go. Well, this is gonna be turned the other way around, but you know, snugly fit, so that way. So that's why we are. Now I could have marked and made whole hairs here before I did this, and that would have been the smart move. But we all know that today is not the day of smart moves, apparently. Uh, of course, it's still wet, so we can just do that if we want to. Uh, we should actually let this be, and then we should contact cement this part once this is. Then this has to dry. That doesn't work very well, Pixel. All right. So we need some toolings and stuff. Oh yeah, wait, we could do the bonky bonky hammer thingy if I knew where all those tools were, and apparently I do not. Huh. Huh? Well, I guess we're doing this old school style or something. I don't know. To match these up with the holes in the crown of the hat, we're just actually gonna put this in, and we're gonna poke holes to this, and then we're gonna put them together, and then we're gonna keep poking into the same holes to mark out where the holes should be on the crown, and then we can stitch them together. But that's a little bit way off for now, because we kind of need to figure out the top part and sew that in first. So the top parts need to be in the water. There we go. Because we need to bend that as well. The secret of getting nice same distance between your stitches. Well, one of the ways. This one is. Oh yeah, we're gonna shave some off that. So let's leave that out then, I guess. And Then we will want our trusty, very old cutting board. This might have been used for this before. And then we'll poke some holes. I have these, I don't know, fork kind of tools. When you use a hammer, you go tonk, tonk, tonk. But they were not in the, well, actually, they might be in the bottom drawer of the toolbox, but because that is a bit faster. However, that is also not very stream friendly because that makes a lot of noise. I still want to see if I can find them though. Hmm, nope, they are not in the toolbox for leather tools. So I have been smart and placed them somewhere else. Lurk on, keep on lurking in the free world or something like that. So, how is Snacky? How are you? Working two jobs. Oh well, that's gonna leave you exhausted for sure. But I also guess you gotta do what you gotta do. We'll see how this summer will treat me with making things and streaming and getting back to work. Ooh. So yeah, I'm basically gonna do two work jobs as well. So I guess I'll join you in the lounge for the club later of being slightly exhausted of having too many jobs. Uh, it's an old mine. It's closed, so it's a very old mine. So it's tourism. So it's an old silver mine. I spent the last before COVID, I spent 15 years working there. So I'm basically just getting back to work with a new added few added things and gonna be dealing more with the technical stuff and exhibition stuff in the museum more than I have done until now, which is cool. I'm gonna, yeah, I'm thinking about as a terrain project or a scenery project, I'm gonna build sort of a, because I've been wanting to for a while anyway, a little diorama over a 17th century mine and how it works with some of the machines. Uh, There, well, you should be able to find Sala Silver Mine, Sala Silver Mine. I don't know how many videos are on the web page, but uh, I'm pretty sure people have filmed. There's, if you go on YouTube, there's films from when people are diving. Half the mine is water filled, so there are people been diving down there. If you want to have a look at how the mine looks. So yeah, diving Sala silver mine should get you some results. So yeah, the water level is 156 meters or so below water surface. Uh, yeah, it's most of what you can see on pictures are probably late 17th century and up to more modern times. Over 90% of the mine is made without explosives because, well, it's old. And even when gunpowder was a big thing in mining industry, it was very rarely used, or wasn't used as much around here as in other Swedish mines for a number of different reasons. Yeah, it's a slightly spectacular place. Oh, here comes Fabio. Whoa, 62 people? All right, let's wait. Here comes. Yep. Let's wait for it. Wait for it. Welcome. Hey, Fabio. Thank you for the raid. We're making a hat. We are making a hat. How is your new wave going? Hi, Cosmic. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. So, we're making a hat for a witch hunter from Warhammer costume. So it's basically a big. Oh, and thank you for the follow. We are so close to 300 followers now. And I don't know why I'm super excited about that, but every 100 is like super exciting. So, yeah, the crown here is gonna be, this is the inside. It just flipped wrong right now, but that's, well, it's a little bit tight, but yeah. So we're gonna have to work. Yeah, it's a pretty sturdy piece of leather. This. I don't really, I don't regret my choices, but I kind of regret my choices. Because the result is going to be awesome, and that's what sort of counts. Just trying to bend, and the reason why, because I made holes in it, so once this is through here, I can sew them together. But we're going to do some other stuff to this first. Oh yeah, so many parts. It's actually not so many parts. It's just three parts. There's three seams. I mean, it's not a lot of, despite what you're seeing right now, it's not a lot of work. And for anybody coming in with a raid who hasn't been here before, hi, welcome. I am Pixel. I make stuff. Uh, we're doing a hat today, and we have done other costuming things and prop related things. There is sometimes we do miniature models and scenery and related things to that. And well, that's not the limit of what you can see around here. You can see whatever pops into my head that I want to make, or whatever somebody hires me to make, actually, because I do work commissions for making stuff as well. This is not a commission. This is for my own cosplay, witch hunter cosplay costume. Oh, here we go. That's a nice, good, sturdy. Okay, and this is just taped together right now, so to test fit. And since this is so thick and we're gonna need to bend this edge down, I'm actually going to use a little tool here to thin it down. So it's easier to bend because it's a bit thick and hard, this leather. Oh, you go and get yourself your food, Fabio. Eating is important. So we're just shaving it off a little bit at a time. And I think I'm going to do that on the bottom part as well because it was a bit tight. So if I do that at the bottom part, it should be way easier to get on my head. We can adjust the size in that way. It's one of the ways. And then of course we can still resubmerge it in water whenever we want to and stretch it out quite a lot. But yeah, this is way simpler to bend over like that now. And the reason why it's so dark is because I had it submerged in water, so it softens up a bit, and that also makes it easier to bend. And the reason why we want to bend it is because we're going to put the top, it's going to go like that. And there's going to be a big flat piece stuck there, but it's not going to be this big actually. We're going to have to make a new one. Some leather shavings. That's a bit thick at the edge here. Be a bit careful though so we don't go through because we want it to be thin, not have a hole in it. And then we'll do a quick pass at the bottom to accommodate my big head. Don't want it too thin at the bottom though because it needs to keep its shape and it needs to be sturdy enough to sew through and last and be durable. Yeah, then we will figure out the top part. Actually, we can sew this together first along the edge before we need to figure that out. I'm just like, yeah, we can. I've been making some small mistakes when making patterns today, so from now on we're thinking through everything twice or even more, maybe 4 times even before doing anything. But yeah, we can do that. Let's sew this crown part together. And let's get our cutting board and let's keep making some funny little holes. Yeah, measured. Yeah, I think that goes for everything. I think that's just a good philosophy for like everything. Always make sure, measure twice or thrice, or whatever. Uh, Definitely. because leather is also one of those things that like once you have cut it, that's cut. Once you have poked a hole in this, there's a hole there. You cannot fix that. It's gonna be a hole forever. I mean, if you put a needle through fabric, you can, in many cases, put take away the thread, and it will be not necessarily. I mean, not all fabrics and everything, but in general, you can just remove it, and it won't be as visible. But leather and woods and most materials actually just once you put a mark in it, it's there. So you have to be a little bit careful. Yeah, I didn't do that when I was making patterns earlier. So that's there on the internet forever because I save my VODs to my YouTube channel, so I can keep my VODs forever in case I want to go back or in case I want to reference something. It's good to have. Uh, you can just go and see because I like to answer questions, but I just don't like to answer the same question 25 billion times, if it's just basic stuff. So sometimes it might be good to have like, I have a clip of that. You can go and watch this. You can see how I did. Like earlier this stream, we actually made the pattern. This hat is from super scratch with all the patterns and everything. We made the pattern. That's what we started with. And then I made the crown pattern wrong. I just taped the paper pattern together and put it on my head, and it was like, nope, I did something wrong. That's way too small. And then I realized what I did wrong. And then we made a new one, and we made it right. Which is also important to show people that you make mistakes. Uh, and your process and how you're dealing with mistakes and how you're dealing with success or how you're solving things, which is why I live stream. I think I like live streaming better than videos for that very reason, because you get to see it live. There's no editing. If I make a mistake, you will know. Well, unless I'm really fast at hiding it somehow, I guess. But in general, you will see me making the mistakes. Because a lot of times when you see people that have made stuff, you see the finished results. Maybe they had pictures of their costume taken by a photographer, and everything looks like amazing. But they made 20 costumes before that weren't as amazing, or maybe some mistakes they made on some parts. They had to remake parts of the costume, but you don't get to see that. And if you're new at making things, that can be discouraging when you only see the shiny, pretty things. I mean, I'm not saying people should show off their mistakes. They don't have to. People don't have to live stream, but I like the live stream because it shows you the whole process, and I think that for me that can be inspiring. See people like making things and then go like, nope, this didn't work. I screwed up somehow. Let's try it again. Because it's very easy to get stuck in staring at people's success and seeing all the pretty pictures of everything, which is also awesome to watch, though. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Right, so pre-waxed linen thread, one little needle, and a lot of sewing. Well, making a simple hat, like a hat, it has three parts, and it's three seams. So if you So it's not that much of a daunting task to actually make. Then of course you can make different patterns. You can put fabric on the inside. You can make all the sort of decorations and everything, and make it as advanced as you want. But in its most basic shape, just making a hat. Oh wait, we're supposed to sew this inside out, so we turn it afterwards. Silly little me. See? Mistakes. Mistakes were made again. Can I can I turn this back without too much ammunition now? Can I turn this around? Yeah, I can. So why do I want to sew it inside out then? Well, because then I'm gonna sew the top part on here, and then we flip it. We're not gonna see the seam. Mhm. That's why. Right. Oh, I started down on the bottom. Was that a, yeah, it's probably the only way. That's gonna be good anyway. The only thing now is, of course, we want this to look pretty. Well, I want it to look pretty. I want the seam to look pretty. So I'm gonna make like these X stitches on the backside, which are of course gonna this be on the what's on the inside right now, because this is the actual outside. So that's I mean, it's nice if it looks pretty on the inside too, but it's not gonna be shown, so we don't have to bother about mistakes as much there. On the outside, however, we do want to uh, be mindful of how we're doing it. So we're getting these little X shapes. So we really have to be a little bit mindful where we, which way we sew. It's terribly exciting. Yeah, I did something wrong when I cut out this piece as well, by the way. I was thinking about sewing it overlapping because it's so much faster. But I didn't add the seam allowance, even though I was talking about it when I was doing the cutting and everything. I didn't draw in the seam allowance, so now we're stuck with this. Or remake it. I mean, it's either that, either of those. Um, I don't want to waste this nice piece, big piece of leather. We do get if you keep track of how you're doing it, you're gonna get the even pattern. If it's just zigzagging basically, but on this side we can see the X shapes, and it's not gonna be this visible. I'm using a dark thread because I'm gonna stain the whole hat later. It's going to be in like this color. That's the same. This is the same leather cut from the same piece. So I'm gonna stain it down to a browner color, and we're gonna do some carving of things and symbols and text uh, into this hat. So this hat is for a witch hunter costume. A witch hunter is basically an inquisitional type. If you're not familiar with the Warhammer universe, they are in charge of searching out heretics, witches, and other evildoers and fight them. So we're gonna have some catchy slogans written on the hat, carved into the leather, which are going to be pretty rough, like the piece that I just showed you, because it's gonna be like this witch hunter is out hunting, whatever he's hunting, sits by a campfire or something and muttering his mantras about not suffering witches to live and all that jazz, and he's just carving it into his hat or whatever when he's doing it. Sort of tells the story a little bit about the owner of the hat, as in the character. We might do some pretty ornaments on the hat that are like supposed to look like they have been there since the hat was new, but the text. Mm, poked myself under the nail with the needle. That's nice. The good thing is that these needles for making saddles, they're not very sharp. They're just pointy. That's why you make holes with an awl before sewing, because you don't have to have a pointy, super sharp needle. But yeah, so when making a costume, you're literally telling a story about the wearer of the costume. So all the little details tell different parts of the story. And yeah, so we're putting some special decorations basically to tell the story of how zealous, I guess, or fanatic even, that this witch hunter is. Or maybe he's feeling his faith wavering and he needs to remind himself, so he's sitting there and dogmatically chanting his mantras about things, and in doing so, maybe not even like super consciously, just sitting and carving it into his hat, just to remind himself. As a sign of his devotion. I mean, inquisitorial types, I mean, we're talking about pretty zealous people that are probably not the most humane type of character, to be honest. Even though they, of course, would consider themselves to be the most humane because they're saving humanity from all the evilness and stuff. Okay, one more stitch and then we're gonna put in a new thread before it gets too short. Snip that off. There we go. Some new thread for our needle. I mean, we could do a longer thread, but it's just annoying to sew with long threads by hand. Usually no longer than your outstretched arms is a good, if you're gonna do it like this, because we're doubling up on the thread. So this seam will probably last longer than the hat in the end, or at least as long without any problems. Just tie it off. And we're leaving a bit after the knot because we're gonna tie these two together once we have started sewing again and gotten on with this a bit. And that knot will keep it from going through. No, wait. Oh yeah, we're gonna tie that off. Okay, yeah, that is right. I was confused. just neatly do a little knot. Because down here we have to be a bit careful with the knots because this is the part that's going to go against your head. But up here it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit lumpy. I mean, it's not so pretty, so if you want to make it pretty, you can always try that. But you don't have to worry too much about it. No, it's not supposed to go there. You should probably look where you're going anyway. So, yeah, and then we're gonna do one seam up here and one seam down there. We could have started by making holes there, but you can do it afterwards as well. It doesn't matter terribly much, depending on how you make your holes. I like to make them as I go along because then I can adapt where I want them to be all the time. Just feels easier to me. So, anybody else up to something funny? Anybody else a creative person making stuff? If you have social media stuff like Instagram, feel free to put a link to that in the chat. Don't violate terms of service with Twitch, please. But otherwise, feel free to post your social links, especially if you are doing something art related or crafting related. And if you're wondering anything and I'm not explaining, wondering about anything and I'm not explaining it good enough, feel free to ask. Yeah, it's not overly exciting, and to talk about doing the same thing again. Sewing is a little bit repetitive. Uh, and I guess we could have made some of the decorations and text before, but since the decorations are going to be looking like they're made by the character wearing the hat, I sort of want to do it once the hat is finished because it will look more believable if I do that. So I might be making myself uh, making more work for myself by doing it this way, but it's all about the results and not the making it as easy to make as possible. This is not a production piece, this is a costume piece. The end goal of the look of the piece is what really matters. The funniest part is going to be weathering this later, like scuffing it up with some sandpapers, making it look old and worn. Because this witch hunter is not fresh out from the witch hunter academy or whatever school he would have gone to, I guess. No, no, he's an old. I messed up something there with the thing. We have to go back. We have to go back, Marty. Oh yeah, I see what happened. It slided out there. Yeah, because of the leather isn't. I mean, it's a bit second sorting leather, which means it was cheap, and it's also perfect for making like costumey things that are going to be weathered anyway, because it doesn't matter if it's perfectly, the surface is perfect, or if it's splotchy, or if the leather is uneven. In some cases, that can even be to an advantage when you're doing that. I mean, because most leather we buy today is obviously made in a with machines. They are milling them to the right thickness, and everything is very exact. But if I mean, Warhammer Fantasy isn't an historical thing, so but it's inspired by history. So in that context, leather wouldn't be perfect for the most part. No, you're missing again. There we go. The good part about this, and it's being this stiff, once it's together, we can actually just put this upside down on a paper, and we can draw out this shape so we know how big the top needs to be, and then we can add some seam allowance and thin down the edges of that one as well, and then we can sew that in, and then we will turn it. Oh, this thread is not gonna be enough. Okay, well, I have learned that if it's not enough, if you don't think it's gonna be enough, it's not gonna be enough, so don't bother trying, because you could go like, I don't want to waste thread. It's thread. It's not that cheap. It's not that expensive. Even expensive thread isn't that expensive in the context. Don't need super long bit though. Another thing we can do once we have the top part and everything done, we can wet down the edges and we can make it fit in here. And then we could actually glue it in place with contact cement, because that's going to be making it a lot easier to sew. So I think that's going to be a good option, and don't think it matters too much if it's a little bit wet still when we're gluing it. And contact cement, I mean glue is one of the, any sort of glue, actual original glue is made from animal parts, and has been around for a long time. So if you want to put it into a more historical context, as we were talking about, it's not historical, but it has historical references. Warhammer. So we want to try and think, could this be a thing in this context, in this universe, in this world where this takes place? Is this a possibility? So, I mean, we're not going to have laser guns, obviously, because that's not a thing even today, like laser guns or plasma guns or whatever. We're having it in a fantasy, so late medieval or Renaissance setting-ish somewhere. So we can have gunpowder weapons like flintlocks, which is a pretty common witch hunter weapon actually. Um, but yeah, so glue is not an issue. It's been around for a long time, using adhesives way before the Middle Ages. Okay. It's going to be hard to draw this into a perfect symmetrical shape, but we will do our best in that. I just need to go and grab some paper to draw on. And also getting a nice cold soda from the fridge while I'm getting me some papers. So we just do this. And oh yeah, we needed to sharpen this because I broke off the point of my pencil. So slightly wobbly, we can just smooth it out, and then we can mark out the front and the back while marking out the middle to be fair, and then we can fold it in half. We can cut out both sides at the same time, which means if it's wibbly wobbly, it's at least symmetrically wibbly wobbly. Then the most important part, plus 1 centimeter seam allowance, because otherwise it's not gonna, yeah, it's not gonna work. And we can see that this part that we already have cut out will work very nicely. at about a centimeter or so. It's not terribly important that it's exactly 1 centimeter, but we need seam allowance to sew this in place. And then we will cut this out, and then we will thin down the edges, and then we will wet it down, and we will re-wet this. Now, actually, we can start by re-wetting that while we are doing this. Well, we have a nice leather ring left, I guess. And then we will grab our tools and we will thin down, cut down, or shave down the edge. I have no idea what this tool is called in English, so if anybody knows what this is, feel free to mention that to me. And the reason why I'm doing this then again is because it's pretty thick leather, so to be able to fold this in to get it onto the top of the hat, uh, I want to make it a little bit thinner. And then we're also going to wet these edges, of course, so it's super easy. Not trying to not shave off anything of my cutting mats. Might be a good plan. But we also want there to be enough material to make a good seam without ripping the leather. So a little careful. Just a little careful when we're going around here. Well, actually, this doesn't need to be wet, this much wet now. It's just gonna be when we turn it, right? Yeah. So didn't really need to wet that down that much anyway. Well, let's put this whole piece into water up there and let it soak for a bit. It's gonna soak in the edges quicker, of course, because it's thinner. You can actually, I don't know if you can see it again, you can see, yeah, the bubbling of the water. It's the air in between the fibers of the leather that is getting pushed out by the water pressure as the leather keeps absorbing the water. And now it's so heavy it doesn't even really float very well anymore. this is now gonna go, so this is like we're sewing it inside out and then we're turning it right. That's what we're doing. I should get some, at least get some clamps. I don't know if we're gluing it in place or not, but we definitely need some clamps to hold it in place either how. Because otherwise we're going to have to hold on to this, make holes. If we glue it in place, and then once it's glued in place, we make holes through both pieces of leather at the same time, it's going to be a whole lot easier. So just making a little low rimmed leather bowl here, basically, like so. And this is now going to get, let's pushed into place. Let's squeeze that in there properly. So, because having these on here while we're trying to make holes are just going to be annoying. I'm just going to have it sit like this for a little bit, and we are going to definitely be gluing this into place. And I'm not worried about making marks in the wet leather with these clamps because this is the inside. And then we wet all of this again once it's sewn together, and then we will do the magic thing and turn it around. And we probably might have to wet the whole thing, to be honest, to make it stable and durable enough. Durable, to make it soft enough to turn properly. I have headphones on, yeah. I keep forgetting that I have headphones on. I can feel the headphones, but I still keep trying to want to put on the hat without taking off the headphones. That's not gonna work very well, Pixel. But yeah, that size works. This is a good way to test out if the size works for you. And we know that this fits very well into this one. So yeah, let's break out some contact cement and get some tools for that. I will glue this piece on, and then once that is set, then we can start sewing. The good thing about contact cement is, of course, it sets like instantly when you put it together. So it's gonna be a few minutes waiting time while the glue sets on the individual pieces. But then we just and it's stuck there. You can actually make leather bowls and stuff like that, like this, if you are so inclined. We don't need too much glue, just close to the edge, like 5 millimeters close to the edge or so. I'm gonna try and keep it there in a way. the same thing on the actual crown of the hat. Go. And we'll wait until this has started to become not tacky, and then we can put those pieces together. And while we let that glue set for a few minutes, we can actually, no, because this needs to be turned before we're putting it onto the brim. Okay, yeah, and the brim seems to be holding its shape well. Let's test it. Maybe I should, while we're waiting for that, try and see if I can thin this out, because this sits well on my head, but we're gonna add a few millimeters, so it might be a bit tight. Well, we'll give it a try before putting it together and see how that works out. Let's just squeeze these babies together. I wonder if the water will, because it's solvent-based glue, so the water shouldn't affect its drying time too much, I hope. Otherwise we're gonna have to wait, because now there's glue there. And that's just how it is. But glue and then sewing, this part of the hat is not very likely to ever break. And I'm guessing the glue will also make a good seal here, which means any rainwater won't get into the hat. It's not like I'm gonna wear this daily, since it's for a costume, unless I really fall in love with the hat. But I feel slightly skeptical to that, because I like this type of hat, just not something I would wear daily. Alright, so we're gonna set that aside for a bit and see if that, yeah, over here it doesn't really want to cure at all. Oh, I should have maybe sanded down the surfaces. The leather might not be too, it seems to be stuck-ish on this side. Okay, it's not stuck anyway. Because I really want to sew this together. But patience is a virtue or something, something. Something. But yeah, this is gonna go, once this has been turned, it's gonna go over like that. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little tight maybe, just a little bit, but we can actually stretch this out even more. Little bit. We can't stretch it out too much because it still has to fit around the bottom of the crown, so but we can stretch it out a little bit. I wonder how this works. Well, this will work if I try to. It's a bit floppy to hold on to and do this with. Yeah, we could go for a little bit more of a modern approach and we could just sand it down. We can actually use a Dremel to thin this out a bit, which is not a bad idea at all. And since it won't show up on the results or anything, it doesn't really matter if it's historical or if it's done with a machine or whatever. It's just things that might be visible. I want to try and keep historically inspired, and otherwise, I don't care. We'll get a brush and we'll brush this up because this I want to keep for terrain pieces and such. It's a very nice, very, very small grained flock. There's my brush. And then we can take the small bits away. And we'll find a container later to put those in. Probably like maybe a millimeter on each side, but it's 2 millimeters extra width. And we'll see if this still will work. Yep, that will still work. It's a bit easier to handle everything after that. That's good. How are we? Some places it has gotten stuck and some places it has not. Okay, so I think to make this hole, making an awl, we're gonna have to put something behind here and like hold on to. So while we are at the stage of dremeling the bejesus out of things, why don't we just use a Dremel and some little drill bit and drill ourselves some holes. Just finding a small enough drill bit that I like. Oh, do we have any in here maybe? No. This will do. Uh, see if this chuck is no. No, no, no. This shook is too big. Let's change that out. That's too small, I think. Let's see if this works. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, we're just gonna have to mark out where we want the holes so we get a nice even stitching. Yeah, the water really, I guess the leather is saturated with the water, so it doesn't absorb the glue as much. And that's why it doesn't want to work. Come on, stop it. You know what? We're gonna stop there and we're gonna make the holes. We're gonna start doing the stitching, and then the stitching will help keep everything in place if we start that. So getting a second needle. Not because I need to replace it, because I'm gonna do this with two needles. Got something in my eye. No, this felt like it. Okay. Okay. Guess I didn't have anything in my eye. Got some wax from the old thread that is stuck in the needle eye. It's sort of stopping me from threading the needle. Stop being annoying now. Silly little thread. There we go. Alright. Let's do some quick holes. And just a few, because it really wants to separate. That glue didn't really work at all. Otherwise, contact cement is pretty good for leather, but as I said, I guess the water did mess that up a little bit more than I was hoping for. that hole went all sideways anyway. Oh well. And then you do with two needles, and you get, because you only have one thread. When you do like machine sewing, you get the under thread that binds everything together. And this is basically, uh, well, before that, and how you make things nice and sturdy. And this is a pre-waxed linen thread that I'm using, and it's 16/3, so it's three threads in the actual threads. It's quite strong. It's not an easy thread to rip off without severely hurting your fingers in a way, because it's going to cut into your hands. You know what? Let's put some of the clamps back for now so it doesn't slide around so much. Then we'll do a few other bunch of holes, and once we've done with those, we'll mark out some new holes, and we'll keep doing that until we have made our way around this whole thing. But it's quite sturdy for hat material. It's a little bit over the top maybe, but I'm gonna make some patterns and stuff in this. I really wanted it to be a sturdy leather. The downside of having these clamps on is, of course, the thread can get caught on them, obviously. If you didn't notice. Alright, oh, we need to mark out more holes. We need to mark it out a little bit more. It's a lot harder to keep talking about this, so you do the same thing the whole time. It's much easier when you do foam things, which are a little bit faster and a lot of different stages of building. This is kind of repetitive, but it's gotta get done. And then back to sewing. So there's like two things, making holes and sewing. Making holes and sewing. It's a bit noisy when you run the machine maybe, but it does cut down the work time a little bit. Mostly because it's actually a little bit annoying. I could have made the holes before. It's easy to miss out though when you do that because they don't have the same distance between the holes on the inside and the outside because the difference of diameters. On a fairly thin thing like this, that might not matters too much, one might think, but 1 millimeter or like a tenth of a millimeter uh, drift or whatever we're going to call it means 1 millimeter every 10 holes. And if you have 100 holes, that's a centimeters difference in the end, which means your seams might be pulling in one way, in which you didn't intend it to. Oh, that's actually a miss. And I mean, we could wet shape it, we can leave it to dry, and then we can sand it, and then we can glue it, and then, I mean, but I want to do this during one stream. I want to put these hats together today. I don't think we're gonna stain. Staining is the last thing, but it would be nice to have all this sewing done. Because I also want to start cutting the patterns in before staining it, which is not the order of things if it was a real hat, I guess. But the thing is, when you stain something that has a cut in it, it tends to get a bit darker in the color, which means that the text will stand out a little bit more. And then we're gonna take some, we're gonna also experiment on some leftover small bits from the build with colors and what to cut with and how to cut it. And we're gonna stain a bit and then cut it afterwards and see if it there's a lot of work in doing it in, so to say, the right order of operations. But for the hat, like in context of the world it's supposed to inhabit, for the character, for the story, it's all about storytelling. remove that because it's annoying. So doing it this way, however, does still take a lot of time because in the time that we have done this short amount of work, basically, we have basically sewn, we have probably finished the first seam in the same amount of time. So yeah, and there are different ways you can do this. It doesn't help that I choose a pretty hard leather. All the friends! Yes, all the friends come by and say hi. All friends. I don't know how many friends are left, but all friends came by and say hi. And welcome back. Did your shopping tour go according to plan? Me, I'm just dremeling holes in this so it's easier to do. You didn't have fine shoe polish? It's over by the underwear section, like over there on one of the short ends, but it's okay. I can dollar store it myself as well. It's okay. As I said, I can go by dollar store on my way home or on my way back out or whatever. No worries. Um, I realized I could have told you that before, because why would you know where that is? Oh, this is so sturdy. This is gonna be turning this part is gonna be where I where I regret my life choices of making using this leather. I'm pretty sure. 'Cause this is some sturdy bit. My Dremel is starting to be a little bit wonky. I think I might need to clean it out again. And then we're going back to the so. Dremeling the leather belts. Yeah, dremeling holes in leather is pretty good. It's pretty efficient. Also, Dremel the inside here to thin out the leather a bit. If I would have used the red leather, it would have been so easy to turn because it's so nice and soft. But I really want... Yeah, the contact cement didn't really work super well on this though because it was still too wet, which was an issue. So we're back to using clamps. Yes, it is. Dremeling and leathering and contact cementing and all that things again. Yeah, you can see the glue didn't attach at all because the leather is so wet. So re-wetting the leather was a big mistake, Pixel. Big mistake. Oh, I see why it's so wonky to drill. Some of the glue got stuck in the drill bit. Let's get that out of the way. We have toilet paper again. Well, I take that as shopping went successful. Oh, it's 5:30. I wanted to have all the seams done, but let's see. We're gonna get this done very shortly, and then we're gonna have to wet at least the top part quite a lot. I'm gonna say to be able to turn this properly. And cookies, bread, and ice cream is something more I've already forgotten. Well, that's nice. We have surprise things. Oh, nice, nice, nice. More cheese to the peoples. Oh, so close. So close. So super close. I know I'm super quiet, but I really don't have too much to say about this process because I've been talking about it extensively. So sorry for not being super entertaining with telling things and stuff. Just focusing on getting these last little stitches. Oh wait, we haven't made a hole in there. Okay. And then we just sew back the way we came. Why, thank you. All right, now we're gonna have to turn this. That is, we're gonna push this down. Yeah, so we're gonna have to, yeah, more water. Yeah. Why, thank you, both of you. Cheers. Question is if I need to do the rest of the hat as well. I think so. Gosh darn it. Well, that's gonna be a little big wet hat. This might get messy. Let's get some paper towels before we make a bigger mess. Before we make a bigger mess. Oh man, so nice to have both cutting mats here now though. It's got a big cutting space. How good did this seam become? Well, it's not a lot of leaking. It's a little bit, especially along down here. That's pretty common. A little bit of beeswax in that, and it will be watertight. You know. Oh, maybe that's a thing for later. Oh, the witch hunter should have like a water thingy. I need to make a new water leather thingy. I haven't done that in, well, since I made it, and that's quite a long time ago now. Leather, bee-waxed, sealed water. Well, not a skin. It's a little bit harder than the skin. So it's basically, yeah, kind of as solid as this, and it's made, and it's what do you call it? It's metal. It's full of beeswax, basically, which means it will be watertight. Yeah, leather flask kind of deal thingy, mujingy. Much historical. Could make some cool patterns on it. Could make it from this piece actually. This is a pretty good piece for that. I know what I should. I should. Do I have a pipe here? Yes. A nice plastic pipe. And then we're gonna bring you in on the plastic pipeness. We're gonna see if we can do this or how well this is gonna. Yeah, this is as I said. This is where I'm gonna start questioning my. Mm, I almost broke a nail. That was. Mm, ouch. Yeah. Turns hate into a drink. Well, you can do that as well. You know, I'm not judging. Ow, that nail is not wanting to be pushing things. Okay, we'll have to be careful with my left thumb then. There we go. Well, if you just make this tight now with the, you can have it as a bucket if you want to. That will definitely work. Go, and then we can. Uh, don't be so stubborn now, Hat, because we know that you fit in here. We have lag time because Pixel is clicking a link. Nice. Good. 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 Goodly goods. That's not bad at all. Very, very nice. I also like that you called them clay stamps. That's very funny. Okay, 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 okay. We're almost there. Not quite, but almost. It wasn't as horrible as I thought it was gonna be. But I still want to sort of press this flatter. So I am going to go on a find a piece to make it flatter tour. Ooh, that's still stuck to something. The pipe isn't really good. I would like to have a like big round wooden dowel for this. That would be amazing, but I guess we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. I don't know. So I want to have something basically to roll. Well, it's really late for you actually. I will agree. Yeah, I'll finish it on stream. I won't be working with it on it off stream, so you will have a chance to see at least stages of it. If not, the VODs will be on the YouTube as per usual order. That's a hat. Well, you have a job now. You have to be responsible. You're a responsible sausage. Good night. You see, you're responsible. You're good nighting and going to sleep. Nice to see ya, friend. I'll catch you later. Because I kind of don't want this to like poke up like that so much. I'd rather it be like that in that case. This is going to become pretty stiff in the end, so that's fine. Because it's the water is not cold, but it's not super warm, but it's somewhere in between. But I don't think we're going to get this on today because this I want it to dry now so I can actually glue this because this really wants to be because sewing this the same way that is I've done that. I do not recommend, but you know, I think it looks good. Let's let you have a look from it from a better angle maybe. You know what? Let's this is a pretty good idea though. That was cold and wet. That's a pretty good fit, and I know what I can do to make it even a pretty bit gooder fit. I don't understand why I didn't think about this one before. We're just gonna, because this is a bit little, just on the little on the tight side. But if it fits, if I can make it fit down on this, that's gonna be perfect because this is a little bit bigger than my head. If I can just this is flexible enough, I think, to get it off. Otherwise, I'll just break it and then I'll make a new one. Should make one of these on stream, actually. I think people could be, or maybe I'll make a video on that. I still have to. Now I was sick for like week and a half. Well, let's say 2 weeks with all the recovery time. So I didn't haven't had time to make that video about the paint job yet. But I'm just gonna like give myself 2 extra weeks, and then I will, because I really want to do that video. Because I know a lot of people have been asking about it. It's the same thing here. We can just starting to dry a little bit too much, I think. Oh, and it's gonna get sort of a little bit of a bubbly shape here because it's gonna go out that much. wetting this part up again a little bit. And then we can oh, stretch that out until it fits perfectly on the hat part, I hope. On the crown of the... Oh, too far. Too far on one side. That's what I was afraid of. Oh, come on, stop doing this. Why are you going down so easily on one side and not on the other side? There we go. And then we might... Well, kind of like the hat shape as it turns out anyway, but we might wet this down in the end and fix that. Because yeah, I'm gonna let that dry on there. Because it's still movable, both of them can still be moved around, which means it shouldn't get stuck, and if it does, I'll get it off somehow. That's not gonna be, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. And then the hat band, which is gonna be like 3 centimeters maybe. We can actually cut that out while because this is not gonna get worked on anymore today. So let's do the hat band plan, which is actually pretty easy since we already have a pattern for the crown. Uh, we can basically use this bottom part as that, and we just make it a little bit longer, and it's gonna go around pretty well. Should go. Then once I get home, I'll get on that this little computer, and I will make the buckle for it, because I'm gonna print that, because why not? Then I can design it as I want it, and I want it to have like some meteors and stuff, some fitting. Nice. I mean, if I wanted it to be metal, I could print it and I could basically cast it, I guess. But it doesn't have to be metal now because it's for cosplay. It's a costume. So what I think I'll do, I'll redraw a part of this. See if this paper is enough. It is not. I don't want to have to mess around too much with the big roll because that's just annoying, especially since there's a sorry, water container in the way. So we'll just make a big sheet of paper out of these. That is enough-ish, and we don't need more. Uh, and if we put it like that, and then we can, yeah, so we'll take 3 papers. It will be super annoying, but also a little bit funny if I come out tomorrow and I'm gonna stream and the hat is irrevocably stuck to that head. But I mean, there's nothing that says that I can't cut up the head because it's just paper, basically a paper glue, which is paper mache. So it should be fine. But also, if it gets really stuck there, then I'm also going to be slightly happy because that means I have made a very, very sturdy head. And now we're going to put it a little bit like this because we want it to be longer, but we don't also don't need it to be much wider. And that's not going to be made from the same leather, of course, because that's a bit too thick for that belt, I think. For that headband, whatever. We'll have to find something a bit thinner. Because since it's a radius, like it's not on that circle, and it's not even at all, but whatever. And then we will, yes. Is it worth it? We might just take a flat belt and try it before we do start messing about with this actually. To be honest, 'cause it's just going to be a lot of hassle doing that. And we need to find a pretty good piece because since it's bent, it's going to take like a big chunk of leather. All right. Well, Hat Boy over here is going to be allowed to sit until tomorrow. Tomorrow, tomorrow, make more hats tomorrow. But for now, we'll say goodbye. I guess, because, yeah, it's not much more to do on the hat, but waiting. I didn't get as far as I would have hoped, but the result is everything I wanted, so, there is that. Uh, and we might reshape this top. Is it final for the... Ooh, that is super exciting actually. Do you know what time they're gonna like go through all that? Do we have a time for that? Uh, okay, we should go and raid somebody who is doing stuff for once instead of just being lazy and jumping away to where we usually go, to be honest. Uh, I think we might be kind. 20, okay, then I'll have time to get home. That's nice. That is nice. Very, very nice. But yeah, there's the hat. Gone quite far today anyway, to be honest. But not as far as I thought I would, but I overestimated it. Wait, is Jay online? And I'm not. Am I not following? Why am I not following? I was sure I didn't I? Yeah, but yeah. Why? How come I have not have what? Jay's being right back. I guess I will entertain you for a while. No, thank you everybody for today. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll keep working on the hats. There is no with the new stream schedule. I don't think there's gonna be a set thing that this day is that and this day is this thing we're doing. Right now, it's a lot of cosplaying and prop making and stuff. So that's what we're gonna keep at going until I get either something to do by someone else or if I got like an idea that I want to do, like I want to get started on some of those. I talked about this earlier today. Some of those mining machines. like the old mining machines, like the diorama thingy, uh, just to display how some of the older machines work, like water pumps and things. So that's going to be coming along as well on stream. Uh, some model building with engineering of the 17th century variety in the end. And yeah, I wonder if we should just, I don't know, uh, if we should wait for it to come back, or you know, because it still says be right back on the screen. Well, Jay's typing in the chat, so let's go. I'm just gonna copy that name and go for a slash raid. Yay! Well, it's only fair. I was gonna raid Dragon Armory because they have also raided me, so I like to raid back, and you know, so we're raiding back now as well. Thank you. Tomorrow, 1400 CET, back making more on the hat piece, and as always, super duper. Thank you everybody for everything today, and I hope I will catch you next time.